Hello, welcome to this C# support video. This is the fifth in the series on cybersecurity, and in this challenge we want to make a password checker class, which is where we pass a password in for the constructor, but we don't want to store that for security reasons. We only want to store a hash of the password. So what is a hash? Well, a hash is a one-directional algorithm. It should be possible to go algorithmically from the password to the hash, but it should be impossible, or at least very computationally difficult, to go back from the hash to the password, so that we can store this, because even if people know this, they're not going to be able to know the password. So I've given you the name of the class that can implement this. You don't have to follow the algorithm itself, and we've got an example if you search for that class here. First of all, we need to make something that will allow us to create a hashing object. So let's do that here. I'm going to call it hasher. And then we can use that to compute a hash. So something like this. I'm going to call it bytes. I called the hashing object hasher. The example that we've got here uses a file stream, so it's loaded a file in and it's generating a hash of a whole file. We just want to do it from a password, but it's not going to let us do that because we need to get the bytes used to represent that string. So we will first of all need to say how this string is encoded. So can we do ASCII.getBytes to convert the string into an array of bytes? Or do we need to do encoding.ascii? Yeah, it doesn't exist, so let's do encoding dot, because I've said, yeah, there we go, system.text.encoding. And then here we have a syntax error because we've got a function that doesn't return a value. Let's just say that it always fails for now, see if we can get past the syntax errors. Okay, so no syntax errors, but we're expecting the hash of hello to be this value. We've generated the bytes, but what we want to do is go from an array of bytes into a hash, a hexadecimal representation of those bytes. So we need to work out how to do that. I wonder if there's anything in this. Yeah, something like this could be quite helpful. This is a for loop that will go through all of the bytes in an array and convert them to hexadecimal and write it to the console. We don't really want to write it to the console, but we do want to convert it to hexadecimal. That could be useful for us. So let's say for each byte be in our array of bytes, we want to generate a string. Oh, we've got a string already. We can just use password hash. So we'll set that to an empty string to begin with. And then we can add on this thing that I've copied and pasted from the example, and let's explain it and see what it means. Okay, so we want to put in a value. That value is going to be from our array of bytes, so let's put bytes in there. It's going to be, in fact, no, we don't need to bother with that, do we? We've just used a for loop, and we're using b to iterate through all of them, and then we're just going to represent it as 2 digits of hexadecimal. Okay, so that should set the hash. Let's see if it passes that first test now. Yeah, great, so it successfully generated a hash of hello as this. But now we want to check and see if a password provided generates the same hash as the stored hash here. So let's see. This in here, have the same kind of algorithm. We'll make a hashing object, we'll generate the bytes. We don't want to overwrite this here, so let's make a new string called hash and put the hexadecimal digits onto the end of that string, and then we can return a Boolean value that says, is the hash that we've generated for this password the same as the hash that we've generated from the initial password, which we stored as this attribute? Hopefully that'll work. Let's see. Yes, the beauty of this is we are not storing the password anywhere. It's not storing that parameter. We are only storing the hash, but every time we want to check and see if someone's got the right password, we generate a hash of their password and see if it matches the stored hash. Fab.